Good morning. I don't know if anybody's in here with me. I don't expect anyone is. There typically isn't. It's not why I'm here. If you're watching this video now, thank you. If you're watching this video later, thank you. In life, you're going to need to persevere through a few things. And in that, I think that there are tools that one can use. And there are many. Find some. Develop them. Develop them highly. Whatever art that you engage in, whatever practice you have, just do it every day. If you're an athlete and you're looking for greater levels of achievement, you're going to have to dig deep. And if you're an athlete who is already at an elite level and you're looking to become more elite, you're going to have to dig deeper. If you're 55 or over 50, I'm 55. You're going to be tested by the time you get to be 50 or above. And you're going to need some type of practice that keeps you strong. What are you going to do about your muscle loss? What are you going to do about the fact that just moving on planet Earth is hard now? When you were a kid, you could do whatever you're doing today all day. Maybe that's not true of you. It's probably not true of me either. Miss! So, you have to have a plan for survival. What's yours? Mine's to breathe. I'll start there. So, when you're playing a sport, you're going to have to train so that your cardiovascular system works very well. Cannot do that by lifting weights, but you must lift weights in order to accomplish that. It's not a chicken or the egg. It's the foundations. If you're gaining muscle, but if you're losing muscle, not so good. Question: does standing in horse stance cause your body enough stimulus to gain muscle? The answer is no. It's not. I'll let you figure it out. So why am I standing like this? To warm up my legs. But additionally, to set my breathing. I want my body to be tested. I want to embrace the discomfort of life while remaining calm. If you can't do it physically, you can't do it emotionally. Internal without external is not possible. You must have both. In the training halls, coaches always try to reach into an athlete's mind to get them to achieve greater levels of intensity and therefore possibly working harder in practice, showing greater levels of intensity and towards their training than skill. Athletes always want to be that player on the field. They don't typically join a sports team or a boxing gym with the idea of becoming the worst boxer or athlete on the field. It's not how it works. Everybody wants to be some level of winner. And then some guys, they're just going in there and they're going to win no matter what. Some guys are built for it. So by the time you get to be a certain age, you're going to need to have more willpower than ever before if you're going to continue to accomplish the things that you want to do in life at any great level. And whether you can accept this or not, I'm going to let you sort that one out as you get older. Because we all will. We all get old. So, look at this thing. So as you get old, you lose the ability to move quickly first. That's the first thing that goes. So you must continue to strength train. You must continue to do some level of sprint work, and then you must follow a good normal diet. Okay? You have to do this. So if you don't, then you'll just simply suffer from the long-term disease that most people in America are suffering from today. So, and it's heart disease. But then there's cancer. There's diabetes. There's Alzheimer's. There's all kinds of things. Ultimately, who cares? Because if you're awake today in your garage, listening to me rant, I don't even know, later when I watch this video, I'm sure that'll come out just, If you're listening to me rant now, though, you know for a fact that you're on planet Earth and you want another day. Otherwise, you wouldn't stick around and listen to this crap. You'd be out doing your shit. But it's raining where I'm at, so you're probably in your garage going, dude, show me something instead of talking. So, the footwork again, okay? We're going to start real simple. So, the idea is 1, okay, that's a 1. Anytime you hear in boxing a 1, you can just assume that even if you're going into MMA or whatever, you're going to have a number system that might not be unique to your school. The terminology might be. So, guys will call punches and kicks differently from whatever schools they go to sometimes, and then from whatever generation they're in. Because, man, I tell you what, I've gone on YouTube and I realized that all the kicks that I used to teach have now been renamed. You know how frustrating that is for me? Because I've got head injuries and stuff, now I have to go back and relearn things. Oh, God. It's so hard. All right. So numbering things makes it easier so that you don't have to remember too much. So you're not thinking, okay, is it a jab? Is it a drilling fist? Is it an uppercut? And then your coach maybe doesn't want to say, throw the uppercut. okay, now, so because you're practicing reaction timing, and so a numbers system really just serves to give you a way of categorizing everything you know. From a boxing perspective, though, what we're talking about is a jab. So stabilize your body and jab. Stabilize your body and jab. So all of the movement that you have when you're about to jab, you launch, jab. Your jab always, no matter where you're at in time, starts from somewhere. So that starting place has to be hidden for the majority of the time, and then the jab must be very fast. You have to hide your movements both through guile, so you're disguising other movements down low, getting them to duck their head like we've discussed, or through just pure speed. So there are boxers and MMA players who they don't have the greatest technique because they walk out and they just go, "What a name!" And the guy's laying down on the ground. And, they're like 20. They're so fast, though, and so strong. They're just wiping people out. But they're going to need better technique later in life because you start taking those punches and they start to add up. You get a little slower. It's a thing. Okay? Anyway, where was I going with this? One, what I want you to do is use the hip. 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 But it's not the hip. A lot of people say it's the hip. All your power comes from your center. Center. Okay? This thing that moves. So we have to learn to move our center to learn the praying mantis the to dent movements, because a lot of what we do in the mantis oneness theory, so for example, catching a front kick. If somebody comes in and throws a front kick, and or say a really nice reverse punch or something, anything to your midsection. One of the things that you see a lot of boxers doing these days are these catches that look like this. They're using the bottom of their hand to catch. So in Mantis, there's a move that looks like this. Looks just like that. And I asked my teacher about it one day, and he said, "Oh yeah, here, come on, we'll show you." He gave this whole lesson on how to catch without fail, almost, somebody's foot. Because of the way you're catching it and how it allows for you then to manipulate your opponent. So from a perspective of using Mantis to catch, one of the things that, again, I don't know where I'm going with this, the hip thing, the waist thing, the sew thing, okay, because it's not about the catch, is moving your center. So instead of moving it this way, you have to move it this way to gain power in punching. So like a turnstile, okay? So if I go one, you don't have to raise up, you don't have to duck, but you always have to do this, one. So some people will tell others that this isn't true. You can certainly use just simple arm power without much waist power, okay? Because a jab isn't just about hitting somebody hard. But should you desire to hit them hard and you want to use correct mechanics to do so, then you might want to involve a bit of this waist power. Now watch what it does to my shoulder. So if any of you watch MMA videos and you watch how Conor McGregor used his shoulder, we were taught that in soccer at like the age of 15. So shuck somebody off of you. So when you're moving down the field, a lot of times, you'll have a player that's right on you like this. As you're trying to maneuver towards the goal, a guy's trying to get around you to get the soccer ball from you. And then you can't just push. You can't ever do that on the soccer field. I mean, you can, typically they call that as a foul. And then when you want to play upper division ball, they're not really going to let you do that too much because you're a liability on the field. But what they will allow you to do is that kind of motion. Even if that hits you in the ear like it just did me, what you're trying to do is move your body in a fast and sudden way. And what that does is it moves the person that's standing next to you just enough to give you distance. That's why boxers get in close and then push off and throw punches and then leap back, because they're trying to get out of that red zone. So am I gonna hit on something? Shrek. Lucky me. So when you use your jab, again, whether it's a short jab, whether it's a long jab, okay, or something in combination thereof, you can always turn at the waist. 1, 2, and then immediately you have your 2 here. Okay, so you might not always turn like I'm doing. So that idea of going 1, 2 and or 1, 2. This is a traditional thing. I would probably coach individuals to learn to throw like I just did there, which is to stay down low and throw that punch with that heel on the ground. You would hear me talk about this a lot, and the reason for it is it's more powerful. So whether you can accept that or not, I'll let you figure out the physical dynamics of this. So magic happens sometimes in the background of a live video. It's great.
I'm sorry.
You don't have to be sorry. In reality, nobody's watching. It's not on camera. So, when you're moving for power using the waist, and you either turn or use a more traditionally inspired heel down, and it really doesn't matter what you use there, because in reality, if you're moving in or out, some of these techniques you're going to want to be on the balls of your feet, just so you can be a little bit faster with a movement, and or do things with your foot that you can't do on your heel. You can determine that as your situation dictates. And it's really, practice dancing and all that, but ultimately it's in your sparring you're going to discover this. So you get comfortable with one thing, and you'll discover what is true and what isn't, because sometimes you're splitting hairs. Oh, this is more powerful. It's okay. How much more powerful? How much more powerful does what you're doing need to be if your mechanics are right? So, all we're really talking about here is using the waist. 1. So 1 and 2. 1, 2. So, and then learning to time it. So one of the things that you want to be able to do is time your punches. Okay? So when you step in to your opponent should have moved in a way that reacts to what you're trying to do. And then you throw your punch and move out. If you've done it correctly, you'll hit them and they won't hit you as much or as bad. You won't get knocked out. And maybe you'll knock down with a simple movement like that, which is when you come into the body, and as somebody gets their body punched and they turn to protect it, you switch and come up the center in the face. Simple technique. So you step in, you punch him in the body, you punch him in the face, and then you just kind of move out. Go deal with your broken hand because you came up and punched him in the face, and you ducked his head and you hit him in the forehead, like I told you not to. Dummy. Why are you getting in fist fights? Anyway. So, right foot forward. To jab with your right is no different than jabbing with your left, so left foot forward, jab. Once again, once you've figured out your timing, then you're going to want to time the technique. So in this, I like to follow a lot of like rules of 3 kind of things, punches and bunches. So you want to affect timing in ways that are both duplicatable, but also you can vary it up enough that it's deceiving as you move. Because all these things look about the same, but there's like a million different techniques that all look about the same. And once you've mastered the 5 to 7 pieces that make it all happen, see, it's not like the old, systems that some of these karate guys went through where they had to master, like 400 techniques and 20 kata, It's kind of like what I did in the Kung Fu thing, but without as many techniques, because Mantis has an infinite number of techniques, because it has used 32 principles with 32 theories. It creates a lot of things that can happen. So anyway, jabbing. So the first thing first, 1, 2, right? Very simple. But when you get better at this game, remember that 1, 2 shouldn't be 1, 2. It should be 1, 2. So when you step in, 1, 2 and out, your opponent, if he feels your jab, is likely to throw his punch just right there. If he's willing to stand there and throw with you, or if he's hoping for a sudden knockout off a trade or something, some guys, they're not going to respect any of the power shots that you throw because they don't think you can hit them that hard. And man, I tell you what, nothing's gonna wake you up like hitting somebody as hard as you can and having them look at you like it just didn't even faze them. It happens. So the 1, 2 thing then is 1, 2, not 2. So when you're practicing in the air, some of you kind of just going, you're sort of just phoning that in. So your timing needs to kind of improve a little bit there, I think. So, you want to sit comfortably in your stance, and then, and back. Back. And back. Always da-da, da-da. So, and then, as you get better at that, you piece that together with things like, the double jab technique. Now, the reason that you don't learn the double jab technique first is because it's just super easy to learn how to work off your jab into a cross. So you can move right in just like that and end the fight. From a self-defense standpoint, anyway. So, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. So remember, you have the jab, and then you have the 1, 2, which is da-dun. So then you have the double jab, which you're going to go dun, dun, dun. So you can see the timing. And again, you still want that first one to be stout. Okay? But it doesn't have to be as stout as the second one. Or you want that first one to be totally fake and barely touch them, so that the second one's the stout one. So then, and when I said or, it's because it's your choice. And you have to figure it out based on what your opponent gives you. Because a double jab can be done both ways. If your opponent's most likely trained in one way, he won't react in the other as quickly because he has to make a decision. And that's where the problem lies. As soon as you start thinking or making decisions, as soon as you get out of your automatic step, and that's where the timing and all of this comes into play. So when you move, then you're going to learn to move your power differently as well. So 1, 2, 3. See how deep I get into that 2? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You can also go 1. Okay, see that first 1? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And again, what I'm doing with 1, with that first 1, is setting you back, but then holding you right there. So it's like if you get your head popped up, but then you see that punch again, you're likely to duck your head. But you see that quadrant that opens up if you do that for the right hand. And the right hand is what you were aiming for in the first place. So, time. Time. That's how it's done. Whew. All right. Hey, don't go anywhere. I'm just mess with the camera angle. Yeehaw. So, you've got 1, 2. Now, the 1. The jab never has to be to the face. Depending on what's in front of you, you can jab somebody on their arms. You can jab somebody in their throat, their body. You can just push them off. Anything that distances you to your opponent, such that you can get an accurate read of what to do with the rear hand. And you can see the difference just in the penetration through the target. So if I can reach here, but I can push through there. So if I can leverage that power and reach out with that big punch, and you see this all the time being used in prize fighting. So, trying to get a read on the camera angle in here. Excuse me while I fumble. So, 1, 2. You've got a 3. Now I'm going to say your 3 is going to be a hook. Okay, so 2, 3. So when you're moving and you're trying to not get clipped as you go out of a person's range, a hook is a really good technique. So whether you have a slapping motion or when you move in, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3. See where my distance is almost always the same if I do this from a darts perspective. And I don't care whether you use this fist or that fist or anything else. I really don't. It's an argument you can have with your teacher. I might do that. All right. Oh, slapping, really? Till at the boss room. Or you start telling me slapping doesn't work. Tell me that Bas Rutten didn't make a whole career out of slapping people silly. Open hand saves your hands. It works the same way that the hook does. And you can use techniques then that mess with your opponent as you come in. Get their attention on one side and then strike on the other quick. Okay? Just to get their hands up. As soon as their hands come up, that's when they're weak to this punch. So when you move in with a 1-2, if they bring their hands up, they've exposed, so they've exposed their ear. So that's what you're trying to do, is box their ear. With a nice little palm, looks like it's got a pocket of air in it. And if you don't think that's going to do something, then you've never popped somebody's eardrum. I have. Lucky me. So, when you have the 1, 2, 3, move, you can see where the slowing things down, okay? The idea that you can practice things slowly is very, very sound. You don't have to go so fast. As you get older, you're not going to be as fast. You're not going to be as able. You're likely to injure yourself. The more you play these type of sports, especially. So, 1, 2, 3. Okay, go slow. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Switch it up. But now, move. So take advantage of having a mobile body such that you can learn how to move as you punch and then get back out of harm's way. Kind of how it works. Could be wrong. So, what should we do today? Go back to the stick. I like this. So, for some of you, if you've never studied Filipino stick fighting arts, they're very, very similar to broadsword motions from Chinese Kung Fu, which I had these guys who were really proficient encourage me to learn. And at the time, I was trying to learn all this other stuff, so I didn't really have the time to put into it, and I didn't respect what I should have. But since, now I'll tell you what, once you learn stick fighting, a whole different world will open up to you, because you're essentially mastering the basic movements of both long and short weaponry to some degree. And there are some things that change with different weapons and the different weapon styles and all that. But there are some things also that are constant. And you know, in previous videos we've talked about this, which that long range, okay? So it's not the only long range attack. And in fact, if you follow anybody's basics videos, they're going to direct you towards some of the slashing motions that, you know, everybody should learn. So basics. And then their handwork might be different completely, subtly, I don't know, than you might see me do. But ultimately you're going to have to learn how to use your weapon fluidly quickly with power, and then likely with both hands. So first, the first technique that we're going to learn is the one that gets you out of a lot of situations that, again, it's the one, the jab. So whether you're in boxing, one, or in stick fighting, one, it's your long range technique, okay? And then you have something that's, two, right? So in stick fighting, you're not going to knock this guy out unless you're trying to lose part of your arm or get stuck with something. You're trying to control a person's hand. So you might see that hand come out here. So that one is most often, unless it's a defensive motion, hitting the hand. But you can see where the weapon goes. So and that brings that weapon to that two motion. Okay? So instead of seeing from boxing where you have that 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, what you're going to do is you're going to move in 1, 2, 3. You see that? And again, so that brings you to the second motion and or strike that you can practice in isolation. And the one that's the most difficult, I think, it was for me, to learn on your left side if you're not natural. So it's that. You gotta switch hands. Oh, slow it down, skip. Slow it down. I don't even have much control. Okay. So you can see the different mechanics of this. So weapon comes up, elbow snaps with the waist. Just like all the other techniques where you're taught to spiral your body to get strength or power, it has to be done with relaxation, with correct breathing. It just does, it has to be. So, but once you've got that, you're in that position where striking through is the same no matter what you're doing. So you're striking down. And notice I'm just bringing my weapon back to bear somewhere, because you're going to bring it back hitting something so that you're in control. So again, you have 1, you've got 2. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Those type of motions. Okay? Down, up, across, straight on. Get it straight. Understand what your targets are. It's not just some motion you're doing in the air. Okay? You break the quadrants up into the strikeable areas, and those are the ones that you attack. So if a person thrusts a blade at you and you block it, okay? So you see them block and attack. So that block motion keeps the blade out here while my hand is heading towards you, close to you. So the weapon stays on the outside of my body. So it can certainly slice me on the way out, but it can't penetrate me because it's already past that center line. So I'm safe from a penetrating wound for just a second. So that parry motion that's very, very common in all of your fighting sports as a thrusting motion that comes in would quickly be followed by whatever is prudent in the directly towards your target. So a lot of these individuals that you'll see that are really, really good learn how to go from here to there very quickly. So it's that 1-2 thing that they learn. 1-2, 1-2. And again, what you're doing as you move in, okay, is you're blocking, parrying, and attacking on the way out maybe. So of these techniques that can be done in isolation on a bag, you should also be able to do them at varying heights that simulate the body. So you're going to want to aim with a stick at the ankles, the knees, the groin, the outside of the hip, the bony areas, okay, the ribs, the liver, the sternum, solar plexus, your sternum's here, okay, up underneath, so underneath the jaw, throat, okay, back behind the ears, eye sockets, nose, center point, top of the head. Those are the areas that you're going to be trying for. You're not going to worry about getting anything back here because you're not likely to. Okay? So all of your strikes then, you learn to make such that they have a reaction. So if somebody's coming forward and you want to give them something to think about that they have to react to that will also hurt and make them attack you. Remember, anything I do likely stimulates a reaction. Whether you defend that or not doesn't matter, because I'm expecting you to do something. So if we're fighting and I have that first and I bring my weapon back here, what I'm likely to do, see that block, is try for that. So again, so somebody that tries to strike down on my head gets met with that block. So you practice in isolation your blocks as well. And they look a lot like strikes sometimes. So you have that thing that happens there. So you can see the effect that that has on the back. So, and you know, I'm not doing anything super aggressive. So it moves you a little bit. Well, that's the same thing that happens on block. Okay? So, how does Mantis fit into all this? Well, again, weaponry, remember, is dangerous only if it's held in the hand. So Mantis would attack the limbs of a weapon, so the hands, and or of the individual themselves, to disable them such that they could then get to a killing blow in the body. So, from a Mantis perspective then, we have motions that are the limb destruction motions. When I say limb destructions, some people get a little grossed out by that, but I mean that's how Mantis in fact works. So if your opponent has their left foot forward, this little motion right there is going to be grabbing at their wrist, okay? But what I'm disguising as I do that motion there, and you have to be fairly quick at that, is the motion that's going to be right underneath it. So again, what I'm trying to do is to get you to do that motion right there, just pull back. Because as you pull back, if I'm good, that motion right there will be fast enough, just like you're taught to grab at the heel in Muay Thai to hang on to the kick, so you would be taught to stick to the hand, followed by a blow 6 inches below it, right there, as hard as you can. Shoot, powerful chop. So it's that that you're going to see. So as you grab and punch, you see that opening? So as I'm stalking in, and you're trying to figure out whether or not to punch, see what I've done right there? As you're thinking, this is what gets you to start to hold, pull, react. But it takes away from, because you're simultaneously required to defend this, your ability to defend this based on a couple of different things. One, you don't know what's coming. You just don't know it's coming. So, bam, hits you in the arms, hard as I can. And maybe that's just my first shot, and that's on your left hand, that you're typically reaching forward with as disguised for your power shot. And now it's gone. Right now. if I've done it right. And if not, I'm going to do it again. And again. And maybe it's your ankle next time. And then the hand itself. Okay? So, if you haven't done these techniques, you just don't know. But that's the Mantis limb destructions. Whang. So, they look kind of silly. All of the martial arts have these motions that you'll see. And they look kind of hokey. I don't think they should. I think you should adopt them in striking a hammer fist across somebody's arm, as opposed to, the only time I see a hammer fist used in MMA is to finish a guy's face. Man, I tell you what, if they allowed for limb destructions, which, I don't know. So, whang, if you're trying to dissuade somebody from messing with, sometimes punching him right in the hand, just focusing on that, and then kicking them right in the ankle or the knee. Those things sometimes get you out of a lot of trouble. Just focusing on things that hurt people, as opposed to kill them. You don't want them. So, but Mantis was an art that was going to stick to you. That's the other thing. So it wasn't likely that if I'm close enough to break your arm, or a Mantis practitioner was close enough to break your arm, that they would disengage and see what's going on, like in a prize fight, because we're not having a prize fight. Once a Mantis engages from a fundamental principle in nature, they stick to their opponent and just eat them. Otherwise, the Mantis is not the superior insect. Loses all of its advantages once it lets go. So, except for the hooks. Doesn't lose the, still a good fighter. But its disguise and its speed and timing from seemingly nowhere is what gives a praying mantis its ability, in fact, to interrupt timing, cause you to pause. So if you were fighting and whang, I pulled some move like that, where I struck you in your arm, and as you were pulling it back, like ow, as opposed to punching me, the next thing that follows is up the pipe. And then I might just be walking that in 1, 2, 3, 4 to stalk you down. Not like it doesn't happen. First get cold in that little area that I always try for, hurts. Hurts. Especially the right side. Me no like it. You know, you don't stretch your way into better kicks though. Not possible. You have to kick your way into better kicks. Snapping at the waist, though, is the same. So when you snap, see that snap? I'm kicking low, snap, carries that hip through. If I'm gonna go straight through your body, snap. Again, straight through your body, snap, snap. Goes through here. So those movements are dictated by your waist. Stay relaxed. Breathe. Move quickly. Move in a way that's consistent with your abilities to both recover from. So don't kick above your ability. If you can't kick to the head, don't kick to the head. Especially if you can't do it in good balance, with good comfort, and good speed. Get back to a position that you can fight from. If you can't do that, don't be doing it. You're going to fall over when you fight. You're going to get eaten alive. Look at the combos now. So, close the distance. 1, 2, 3, 4, Okay, uppercut, and we're going back to 3. Okay, that's how you would number it. So do damage, get it out. 1. I'm gonna come uppercut, down over the top, and across. Elbow striking out. Do you see the different combinations? Okay. Now, off of limb destructions. Okay. You're going to draw that hand, but you're going to be throwing off the front hand if they have their right foot or if they have their left foot forward. So, different technique as you move in with that limb destruction. Same thing. You're trying to get them to either throw towards your head with that rear hand, take the blow with that hand, pull it back. Either way, they're going to expose that middle. And that's what you're after. So, like that. So again, you strike the hands and then go right up that center with your kick. So strike the hands and you go right up the center with that kick. That's how fundamentally it works anyway. So, bam, you hit that as they start to move. And that's your finish. So you're just trying to get them to expose that area where I can find the liver. So you can move that way too. So you're kind of pulling their hand down like this while attacking it. And if they try to pull that, it's gonna cause them to swing in a way that's not natural, likely throwing them off balance. As they spread their wings to fly, you're going to attack them right in the liver and then put your foot down next to theirs. If your foot's next to theirs, okay, whatever level of combinations you feel comfortable with. So, that's how you do it. Liver hunting. I know I say that a lot. But hey, you know, I mean, it's kind of how it works. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Thank you, Shauna. Old friend of mine. Everybody in their family trains. Thank you so very much for checking in. So, again, remember that as you're training with your Mantis, if you're using limb destructions, you're staying outside of the range. And again, it's the weapons theory that translates so easily from you know, dangerous weapons to hand fighting. The same thing applies. So if you're dealing with an individual where you're trying to defend yourself, and I don't care what type of grip you use on your knife when you fight. So you know, it just depends, I guess, on you know what you've been taught, what you're comfortable with. You know, I use my Mantis a lot with a knife. So you know, even with the small little folders, you can kind of use a lot of the type of things. So because you're not trying to hurt somebody. You're just like, if someone's trying to put their hands on you or like get all grabby or anything like that, sometimes, you know, just whacking them in the arm as hard as you can kind of does the trick. That's limb destructions. But from a perspective of getting you on the inside, it pulls them over. So if somebody's reaching out to grab you and you pull their hands over, you can see this quadrant here. So that gives you the head. So as you step in and pull them this way, you can, and you see that a lot in Muay Thai, and that person's going to be on the ground for sure. So again, it's that a lot opens up with that, what Mantis called sheep heat. So, or peat chewing. So it's the powerful chop motion that you see in a lot of forms. Anyway. Well, I don't know what time it is. I kind of knew. I'm probably trying to squirrel out of here early. No, it's not early. It's not early yet. one of those things. Alright. Well, shoot. You know, in the world of things that you like to do and the things that you don't like to do, there's the things you have to do. So, I like to, every single day, do something that assists my goals. And I'm trying to stay in some relative level of fitness as I train. Remember that when you see me train, if you're daunted, I have injuries. Every day I work through them, and I as well am daunted the minute I get up in the morning. So I don't typically feel like coming out here other than I'm excited about it. My body doesn't jump out of bed like it used to and go, oh yeah. In fact, it usually says something like, it's not even real words, but that's what it says. I'll move this up a little higher now. Stretch on up into it with a low high movement. Trying to get that foot turned all the way over. And then get your balance so you can kind of stretch up into it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You just stretch it. I like my left foot a lot better. Which, I can tell you what, I didn't when I was a soccer player. My left foot was not my friend. Uh-oh. All right. I don't know about you. I know you're not done. I am done. It's Friday. I guess I'll see you tomorrow.